Hi, everyone. Good morning. As you're joining this morning, if you wouldn't mind, as always, putting your name and affiliation into the chat, and we'll get started here in just a moment. Good morning, Michelle. It looks like most people have been joined into the call, so whenever you're ready, we want to get started.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. Lovely to see you. As David instructed, we would love if you could put your name and affiliation in the chat, please. Today, we're going to hear from the SCORE Consortium, so very excited for that. But before then, I'll pass it to Matt Bogosian for some updates. So, Matt, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Michelle. Michelle Burris from the Century Foundation, one of our many teammates in the AMCC network. Thank you for all of your consistent teamwork, Michelle, at the Century Foundation. Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, the 20th of October, 2024, and this is AMCC's National 30-Minute Call at the same time every non-holiday Monday, 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central, 9:30 Mountain, and 8:30 Pacific time. It's part of this weekly call is part of our national strategy to strengthen the American project by strengthening the cornerstone in key industries, the manufacturing cornerstone in key industries and regions across the country, using the best available evidence to inform what every key stakeholder and organization can do to add value. We frame the scope of the challenges and opportunities and ground truth that with your feedback and these calls in our weekly AMCC update newsletter, that if you don't get it or get it out to your network, please do so. David can drop that link into the chat. You can also get it on our website, americanmcc.org. But we also talk about it in discussions on the podcast, Manufacturing an American Century, in-person meetups on our AMCC Roadshow. Hats off to our friends in Texas. We have AMCC Roadshow coming up in Texas soon. And to all of our co-creating friends, in this year's Manufacturing Momentum Summit that's going to be happening in DC. The day one, December 12th, I think it is virtual participation. So anyone and everyone can participate and listen to the panels and engage that way. That's an easy way for those in your network to participate. We can drop the sign up to the Eventbrite for the virtual participation on day one. So that's a cool opportunity. Thanks to NACO, the National Association of Counties, and so many other BFFs who are helping to co-create that event. And so, David, if you could share the three lens slide. We frame our work, and this has been, like I said, ground truth, over and over again with you all in every forum that we engage, like we will at the Manufacturing Momentum Summit, around these three lenses. We sometimes say this work is an applied form of complex system science, that in order to get better outcomes, we have to constantly pivot from talking about the big picture to important illustrations of specific sub areas that matter to the whole. You see the first lens there is key manufacturing industries for long-term prosperity. The second one is the big six areas that for 10 years, regions around the country have been working to understand their regional manufacturing ecosystem of support and create better interventions to improve it. And then the third target, of course, is sustainable development, doing all this to produce outcomes on all four of those fronts. So it's a big project, but we're doing it together, learning together, learning by doing. And today we have a presentation by some systems leaders who work at the intersection of many of those elements through that three lens around the defense manufacturing industry. And I would say, looking at the big six lens, workforce and supply chain support on critical minerals, and then, trying to produce all four of those sustainable development outcomes. So it's very cool. We're going to have the presentation here in just a second. But before that, I want to stick to kind of one of the things that we have gotten feedback on is if people want to, new people or people want to, reintroduce themselves very quickly. Say who you are and what organization that you're from, if you haven't done so already, or if it's been a while, want to take a minute to provide that opportunity. So if anybody wants to quickly introduce themselves or reintroduce themselves, please raise your hand. You can also, of course, like many people already do, use the chat to put in their useful information about events or best practices that will add value to the whole. Okay, all right. So I didn't see any hands. So we're going to continue on, and that's presentation day, which is today, as opposed to sometimes we just have roundtables where we talk about, key issues that folks want to bring to the fore. But this is a presentation day where we're lucky to have a longtime BFF, Bernie Lynch, who's the CEO of Factory Unlocked, who is on our weekly calls just about every week. She honchos a manufacturing community support program, right? So we talk often about, this era of federal interventions to support regions around the country. One of the first sets of those interventions came in the National Defense Authorization Act several years ago because of the weakness of the defense industrial supply chain. And so the Defense Manufacturing Community Support Program was created. It was put into the Department of Defense at the Office of OLDCC, and many of the BFFs from OLDC are part of the AMCC community and on these calls. I believe there's 23 designated coalitions there, and the SCORE coalition around critical minerals is one of those. And so we're delighted to have Bernie Lynch on here to talk about some of the good hard work. And with Michael Cook, who's the director of the industry academia team with Rockwell Automation, Michael, as I understand from Bernie, has taken a laboring oar with industry partners, putting together occupational competency standards for automation for chemical process operators and technicians, and something that can really scale to tens, if not hundreds of thousands of U.S. manufacturing positions. So anyway, without any further ado, let me turn it to you, Bernie, and talk about the importance of that designation as it applies to this particular illustration. Go ahead. Bernie, I see that you're on mute.
Yeah, it wouldn't let me unmute, but here I am.
All right,
thanks for
sweet.
that. Yeah, thanks for that great introduction. And yeah, I'm mobile today, so I'm not going to come on camera, but I feel like you outlined, thanks to all the people who created this program, people like you, Matt, that really helped us pull together kind of for the defense industrial base. In our case, Supply Chains of Recovered Elements Consortium is about looking at waste streams, both mine and industrial waste, and how we can actually pull sufficient quantities of critical minerals that have zero domestic source. There's about 30 that have little to no, and another 20 that have some portion in the US supply chain. But part of this project was not just to figure out how to extract those critical minerals through chemical and biotech methods, but also once we figure that out, how do we make sure that material then enters into the entire supply chain, all on domestic soil? And then how do we train people in chemical process? Rockwell's one of our teammates. I knew they had been working with West Virginia University on something similar and had about 5 years experience when we recruited them. And Rockwell brought in at least 5 other team members who all had experience doing this together. And Michael Cook specifically cares very deeply about workforce development, and how to make sure that workforce in the US is keeping pace at the speed of industry. And there is, in my view, nobody else in the US who cuts across automation, AI, robotics, semiconductors.
We lost Bernie in my feed. But she was pretty close to introducing you, Michael. So
Yeah.
welcome.
All right.
That's how we roll. Yeah.
Thank you. Can I go ahead and just share my screen?
Yes,
Go ahead,
sir.
Michael. Sorry about that.
No
No
worries.
worries.
Can you see that?
Not yet. No.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go. You should be able to see that now.
Yeah, it's coming up now.
So again, thank you for the introduction, and we really appreciate the opportunity to share some of the work that we've been doing with our partner ecosystems, especially with the SCORE Consortium and others that are like-minded. And I think what we want to do by way of presentation is to provide what I would call a very brief flyover of what we've been doing to really get a clear framework around how we scale the skill sets into supporting these industries as they grow. So I'm joined by a little bit of my ecosystem, and they'll make some introductions as we go. But I wanted to just reaffirm a little bit of the message that Bernie had there, is that our message as industry is that we recognize support, but also appreciate the importance of these domestic initiatives. And we've, as Bernie mentioned, we've been at this a little while. You'll see on the top right of the slide, a little bit of an experimental process instrumentation and controls project that we started with West Virginia. And during this process, we've learned an awful lot in terms of the skill sets, what's required to scale it, around the critical elements themselves and their importance, and a little bit around the supply chain and the criticality of that in order to get going. And just underpinning this whole conversation, just to ground us, is that as a nation, we import about 80% of our rare and critical, and 91% of those currently are coming from China. And so it's really critical that we take what we've learned and we accelerate that and start to really get our hands around controlling our domestic supply chain. So with the project that we've been partnered with NRES and Hauser and Bernie and her team at SCORE, this project was really funded by the Defense Manufacturing Community Support Program. We also partnered with the Manufacturers Association in PA, who have also been involved in other projects related to building defense workforce, specifically around the Navy shipyard, etc. But at the time we started this project, we recognized it was really important to start to identify the key occupational competencies that we're going to need in order to scale this. So we're confident that this can be accelerated and can grow, but we've also got to be confident that we can actually go build that workforce, which is really the heavy lift to start to drive the establishment of a domestic supply chain. So historically, we've done a lot of work more focused on the discrete manufacturing side, but there've been gaps in the process side that we've been able to start to fill by working with partners like NRES and Hauser and others that have been participating in these projects. And that's really set us up. And I think, scandium and aluminum, as Bernie was talking about, those are important. But we're also able to use domestic reserves, be they from acid mine slurry or industrial waste and other areas, where we can also get terbium and dysprosium and other kind of critical minerals. So with both these projects, and more particularly on the workforce side with the SCORE Consortium, we're really looking at how we can scale at quality and really truly create a domestic supply chain that we can manage. So with that, I'm just going to hand this across to Fred Mitri on my team for a minute here.
Thanks, Michael. So just a higher level slide reinforcing that smart manufacturing technology is certainly impacting industry. As the smart manufacturing technologies advance, clearly there's a growing need for a skilled workforce across what we would term as a connected enterprise. And the connected enterprise could be, certainly things at the level 0, level 1 uh, part of the model when you're talking about smart devices and smart instrumentation that Anderson Hauser provides, to industrial control systems and other power control systems on the production or plant floor, robotics, and certainly there's the foundational elements, but they're being connected digitally. And of course, there's the benefits, but also the challenges that can come with a connected enterprise and all the digital connections throughout the whole facility and enterprise. So, there's other higher level systems like asset performance management. I think many of you have heard of computerized maintenance management systems, CMMS, distributed control systems, quality management systems, supply chain planning, ERPs, production monitoring. And really, when you're looking at the whole connected enterprise, there's not really one entity that can address all the workforce development needs across this connected enterprise. So we, Rockwell, work with key ecosystem partners like Anderson Hauser on the process and process instrumentation side, and SACA, Smart Automation Certification Alliance, on pathways and credentialing. And that's a good, I wanted to segue to my colleagues to talk a little bit about the next slide.
So a little bit about showing you that slide is, and it's meant to be overwhelming, is we're really starting with the fundamental skill sets that we can actually go out in a common sense, pragmatic way, build and install into our workforce before we kind of get to AMRs and AI and other things, which we know we've got to get to maintain and our lead in manufacturing competitiveness. So those are vital, but we've taken a collaborative, systematic ecosystem approach, as Fred mentioned, in order that we can actually do this and execute this at scale, and then start to build the more complex things on top of it. So we are the largest domestic pure play automation company. We're very invested in these kind of efforts where the adoption of new technology really depends a lot on the skill sets in the workforce and how we can sustainably do that. So we think a lot about access to technology, access to industry methodology, and we've gone out and over the years built a really strong ecosystem, including consortiums like SCORE and others, where we can collaborate on these activities and actually bring our best intellect and efforts to start to solve this problem. So we do work a little bit across that K to Gray workspace, if you will, from anything from an apprenticeship program on the discrete automation side, process controls, instrumentation, and things that are industry specifics, such as this specific effort around rare earth and strategic minerals. And we're really looking to help as industry work with other end users to develop standards, and then to find ways where we can scale strategically as a nation and make sure that we're doing this in alignment with institutions and where industry is moving, which typically is much quicker than academic institutions. So that's a little bit about Rockwell, and I'll throw across to Jerry Spindler to talk about Anderson Hauser and how they've partnered with us in this ecosystem to start to develop these skill sets.
Thank you, Michael. So I'm Jerry Spindler. I'm with E&H. So we're the instrumentation side, and we've actually been partnered with Rockwell, or a strategic alliance partner, and have been for over 20 years. So we've worked together for a long time to develop a lot of things, including some of the most advanced industrial training centers across the US, Canada, and Mexico. I mean, honestly, it's involved multi-million dollars worth of investment by both of our companies. And really, to that, we have several other training instrumentation packages. You can see those in the center photo there on the slide. Those are actually available to colleges and universities, as well as industrial customers that want to have them at their site for on-hands training.
Hey,
And
Jerry,
yes.
on my feed, I lost the PowerPoint, so I don't know if we can get that back. Yeah.
That might be on.
That
I
was
can see it
Michael.
over here.
Michael was sharing that.
It's still sharing, but I think with David's kind help, we could probably push this out to everyone afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that you're good to go, Jerry.
Okay. So again, with that instrumentation training package for the hands-on labs that is provided through a third-party partner of both Rockwell's and Endress & Hauser, it's Amatrol, who supplies those really to colleges and universities. And then those can also be put on site at industrial locations. So when that is done, we can actually supply all the curriculum that goes with it, the hands-on training labs, as well as trainer-trainer services, and come out on site and provide that. And when there's SOCA certified instructors that are doing that, there are certifications that are available and awarded to the trainees or the people participating in those classes. So a little bit more about that. I hand it over to Jim Wall to talk a little bit more about those SOCA certs.
Good morning. My name is Jim Wall. I'm the Executive Director with SOCA, the Smart Automation Certification Alliance. And the Alliance is a nonprofit educational foundation that was formed in the 2017-2018 range when a group of industry leaders came together and recognized that there was a need for some very specific certifications and pathways around the burgeoning. And we've been fortunate to have a significant amount of industry support since being established. And, we see our role is to convene technical experts from various companies around the country. We call them technical work groups to develop skill standards. And from those standards, then develop a certification program. These standards documents outline the different competencies, and within the competencies, the knowledge indicators and performance indicators that folks can use to discriminate that competent person from the incompetent person around that specific technology. Currently, we have a platform of over 60 micro-credentials that allow people to put together pathways in different areas. Recently, we completed a whole pathway with the help of Endress Hauser, Rockwell, and a number of other companies around smart process and process control and smart instrumentation that was recently published. We've also been working with some of the Manufacturing USA Innovation Institutes. We recently completed 4 different smart manufacturing micro-credentials in cooperation with SESME. We're currently beginning another project with both SESME and Symani to develop 2 or 3 additional cybersecurity micro-credentials around the operations side of things. And we're also currently working with MXD out of the Chicago area on some new standards and certifications around pre-metaverse integration technologist and data annotator roles. And we continue to be in a development mode. We know that as new technologies evolve and become prevalent in the industry, there's a need to develop standards and certifications so that, we can have a pathway to get skilled people in communities around the country that can keep our manufacturing community vibrant.
Thanks very much, Jim. So I'm mindful of the time and we want to be disciplined. So I told you we're going to be right on at a high level. But out of this funded project, we really identified 3 occupational areas that we need to focus on that will support us in the scaling up of our rare earth and strategic mineral supply chain. So process control operators, technicians, supervisors. And this is really informed by our national security strategic focus, right, as well as private industry's demand for these rare earth elements. So as a result of these technical work groups, where we've worked with end users, we're very advanced. I think we've got a very comprehensive offering right now to start. We're working very closely as a final push on this particular SCORE project with the Manufacturers Association in Pennsylvania, with Tom Pallison and his team, to really fine tune the curriculum and do some pilot training, which would kind of be that layer of domain expertise that would go on top of what we've already developed. And then once we've done that, then we can look at the industry relevant credentialing for that as well at that point, and then really start to scale. But by way of closing, I'm very appreciative that we could talk to AMCC today, because a lot of what we're doing collectively as an ecosystem is really making a difference. And I think what we wanted to kind of share with you that these investments don't go into a hole. They really truly aligned with getting results. We need to get results, and we need to stay ahead and do this in a systematic way. So it's important for you to see how Rockwell collaborates with our alliance partner, Andreessen Hauser, the Smart Automation Certification Alliance, and others, in order to start to address these in a way that can scale at quality. We don't do things for the sake of doing it. We really need to think carefully what end users actually need, what's relevant and accurate, what's aligned, and then how do we scale with the ecosystem, including AMCC and others, to go get it done. And once we get some momentum, and I think we're getting incredible momentum as a nation, nobody can touch us. They can maybe learn from us, but they can't touch us. So just very encouraged, and I thank you all for an opportunity really to just share a little bit of our work, and our details are there if you want to reach out to us. We're always excited to hear from others that we can partner with.
Michael, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks to Fred, Jerry, Jim, Bernie, of course. There was a request in there to, if you gentlemen and Bernie can put your emails into the chat and people could grab those, that would be cool. I'm with you, Michael. Like, yeah, no one can touch us if we set our minds to addressing this complex system. And I really appreciated what you were saying. I'd like to have a continuing thread about how you pilot this in Pennsylvania, because as we've learned over the decade, every workforce is different in every region, right? And the ecosystem players are different, and so we have to have capability to tweak what we do in a regionally relevant way. So that's no doubt you guys are all over that, but we like to learn from what you're doing and help it scale. So for that, we just have a couple of minutes left. If anybody has a quick comment or question, I'd open it up to the floor.
Hey, Michael, this is Danny Weirman. I'd love to know just what specific regions you're in, like how many, and then how many people are you really looking to pump through that career pathway? Are we talking, 50, 60, hundreds? What are you looking at?
So with a minute remaining, the short answer is there are about 50,000 abandoned mines. There are about 13,000 in the Appalachians that we could target. So the initial step-off point would probably be, I would think in the hundreds. Once we've kind of got the fine tuning done, and we can start to scale with the DOE and DOD specifically on this project, I think it would be in the hundreds. But we're also looking at other regions as well, because they're about 50,000 abandoned mines. That's just on the one side. If you look at the work that SCOR's doing, you could start to exponentially increase that number, over a period of years as well. So if you look at those various streams, I think we've got to be a lot focused, maybe looking at the kind of 5-state region around, Pennsylvania to start with, to get our legs under us. But I honestly think it's going to be in the thousands over the next couple of years here. And we're also looking at the Mines of the Future Institute and so on with University of Tucson and others that'll collaborate more broadly. So it's going to be significant. And this is not just the recovery of the rare earths. There are foundries as well that need to be established to process these rare earths. And obviously looking at the mining operations. And that's where we have this in mind, that this can address a lot of those critical skill sets, not just in this space alone, but the adjacencies.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And as Bernie knows, Michael, if you and your collaborators want to continue this discussion, we'd be happy to do it. It seems to me we've co-created bigger, longer webinars, for example, where and when it makes sense. That's something that we can talk about going forward. So anyway, we are at time. We are very clear about being a 30-minute commitment every week and appreciate everyone staying to that. So let me turn it back to you, Michelle, to close out the meeting.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks so much, everyone, and to our presenters for the great presentation. We will reconvene next Monday, November 4th at the same time. Look forward to seeing everyone then and hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.